Welcome to Career Uprising. I'm your host, Lorraine Rise, a career and executive coach dedicated to helping clients who are 40 plus to break free from feeling stuck and transform into the unstoppable force you're destined to become. Let's start the uprising. Hey everyone, this is Lorraine Rise. Welcome to episode 194, Navigating Purpose, Values, and Culture. Welcome back everyone to Career Uprising. Take a minute to follow the show on Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating and review. I would read it and greatly appreciate it. It's the best way to help the show. So I hope you guys are doing well. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous fall day right now outside my window as I'm recording this. I hope that life is treating you kind. It's tough out there right now. The government shutdown is still raging on for day 23 at this point. So who knows what'll be going on at the time that you listen to this, but I'm glad you're here. And today we're going to dig into something beyond the nitty gritty, beyond the job titles, beyond the salary ranges, even beyond the skills, and that's values, purpose, and culture. This comes up a lot in coaching sessions. I see a lot of conversations on LinkedIn about it. It's been very relevant to my life as I am now in two jobs, Career Uprising and my day job, that are both really well aligned with my values. And I can feel the difference because I have not always been at companies that are aligned with my values. So I know how it feels when you are misaligned and the frustration and the burnout that can come from being in a company or in a job that is misaligned with you. So we have to figure out ourselves first if we're ever going to solve that problem. We have to know ourselves. Because here's the truth. If you don't know what matters most to you at work, you'll always feel a little bit off. No matter how much money you make or how good the job looks on paper, it's not going to give you the intrinsic rewards that you're looking for if it doesn't align with your values. So we talk a lot about finding the right role, but not nearly enough do we really talk about finding the right environment. And that comes down to one thing: knowing your core values, and then learning how to spot whether a company really lives up to those values or just markets them on their website. So what I want to walk you through today is first, how to identify your core values with some exercises and some questions that I have done myself to do this work, how to evaluate a company's culture through research and interviews, and then what questions to ask, what signs to look for so you don't end up in a culture clash a couple months into your job, or so you don't end up taking a new job thinking it's going to be all different and better, and it's the same crap you were dealing with where you came from. That has happened to so many people. So let's do it, guys. Let's dive in. All right. We're going to start first with identifying your core values. Your values are the filters that help you make decisions. They're the standards you hold yourself and others to at work. If you've ever thought to yourself, I can't quite explain it, but something just feels off here, that's probably misalignment. Or why am I just not happier here, right? Why don't I feel more engaged? The thing about values is that they're hidden. They're these hidden, invisible forces that are actually guiding your every move, all your choices, all your actions, your feelings, your reactions to things. They're all driven by your values, but you can't see them. You can't reach out and touch them. So you don't always realize that that is what is going on. So here's a quick exercise that I've used with clients, and I want you to try it right now. Think back to the best job you ever had. What made it great? What did you like about it? Why did you feel happy and engaged and aligned? What was it about it? That is a great clue to your values. Then, on the flip side, I also want you to think about the worst job you ever had. Why were you miserable? Was there micromanagement, dishonesty, too heavy of a workload and you were burned out? What was it? Because here's the thing, whatever it was that bothered you at that job might not bother the next person. It comes down to you and what do you prioritize? Maybe that 60-hour work week isn't a schedule, isn't a problem for the next person. They have a different preferences, different values, different circumstances in their life. So this is highly personalized. Then when you've looked at both your best and worst job, look for patterns. These will point directly to your core values, the things that just keep coming up all the time. So if your favorite job had autonomy and you were given the freedom to make decisions and work how and when you wanted to, you might value independence or freedom. That's one of mine. If your worst job had constant conflict, everyone was arguing, there was no cohesion on the team, you might value collaboration or respect. And that was what was missing. Maybe you get fired up about purpose, social impact, mission. You might value meaning and contribution, and the next person might not. And that's okay. You don't have to care what the company does that you work for. Some people really do, and some people don't. That's okay. But this is how you figure these things out. You look at yourself and look at your patterns and ask yourself, what do those patterns mean? So, for example, I'll share 3 of mine. I've been doing this work recently myself, and I determined that my top 3 core values, and these are in no particular order because they're not ranked, they're just 3, are communication, humor, and freedom. I found these by really looking at myself and asking, well, first of all, what do I love? When do I feel the best and the most joyful, and why? That a big part of that for me is having the freedom to create my own work schedule and work as I need to and not be micromanaged, but yet have people there when I need it, right? That right balance between working independently and working on a team. But overall, I need my job to work well into my life, not the other way around. So freedom's really important to me. That was what prompted me to be an entrepreneur in the first place 10 years ago. Communication. I get so irritated when people don't communicate well. And I started noticing that pattern when people couldn't put a thorough email out or copy all the right people in there or anticipate what their audience might need to hear, things like that. That drives me nuts. So look at what you love and look at what you can't stand as well. They're both clues to your values. And then fun and humor. I've always been the funny one in my family. I'm always cracking jokes. I don't know how to get through life without humor at all. I've always been the sassy, witty one. My parents will tell you ever since I was really little. So that's been a constant theme in my life. And other people always tell me that I'm funny. And that feels really good. I value that compliment. Other people may just brush that off, whatever. But when you receive a compliment and it means a ton to you and you remember it, it's probably one of your values. So communication, fun, and freedom, or humor and freedom, those are my 3. Okay. And that's how I derived those. So what about you? What are some potential other values that you might have? Integrity, learning, balance, recognition. Do you love having people praise you for your work, or does that make you really uncomfortable, right? Stability, innovation. Is it really important to you that you work somewhere like a startup where it's fast paced and creative and you're working with smart people and they're innovating new products? Great. If not, if you don't care about that and you don't have to, maybe not. These are just examples, but I want you to write down the words that come to mind and then start ranking them and crossing them out and kind of getting the list down to a few that you think are the most non-negotiable. And it doesn't have to be 3, it can be 5. This is your exercise to do. So it's not an exact science, but that is how you get started. There's also a list, I believe, through Brene Brown's Dare to Lead program. If you do a Google search for that, you can get a really comprehensive list of values that way as well. But however you need to do it, spend time writing this down and brainstorming and allowing yourself to really observe yourself And I'm confident you will be able to determine some core values. So step 2, then, what do we do with this information? You have your values. Now what? What is it all for? Now we're going to need to start researching companies that we want to work with that share those values. A company's culture is how their values play out in real life, not on their website, in real life. And it's not the free snacks or even the hybrid work policy. It's how they really behave and make decisions when no one's watching. So here's a few things to get you started to do your homework. Take a look at their messaging, what's there and what's missing. Go to the company about page, social media, Glassdoor, maybe, press releases, all of those things. And look at the words they use. A lot of this, though it is a little surface level, it does tell you a lot about their culture. If you read job descriptions from one company to another, they can be really, really different. Sometimes they have really casual language. Sometimes they're really stiff and kind of overly formal. That is your first clue. So if they talk a lot about hustle and winning, well, that's fine, but it's probably a high performance culture. That's probably, they're going to expect you to hustle and win and maybe work a lot of hours. That would be my guess, right? So if you value work-life balance, things like that, kind of a slower pace of work might not work for you. I'm not saying don't apply for that job. I'm just saying keep that in mind. Okay. So first, just look at their job descriptions, their website, their LinkedIn, and study the language and see how it makes you feel. Then look at the leadership behavior. See if you can find some interviews on podcasts, YouTube, anything like that. You may be able to. How do they show up online? What do they post on LinkedIn? Anything like that. Do they talk just about performance? Do they talk about growth in the future? Do they talk about employee engagement? Just start observing the leadership because it typically starts at the top and goes down. Then I also want you to use LinkedIn strategically. Not enough people do this, but think about actually sending a LinkedIn message to a former employee at that company. I like to say former employees rather than current employees for 2 reasons. One, I think a former employee is probably more likely to talk to you about the company than somebody who's still working there. That might be a little bit risky or uncomfortable. 2, former employees have left. I want to talk to people who've left these companies and find out why. Maybe there's dirt there, maybe there's not, but that's what I would want to know. So message them respectfully. Just ask if they'd be willing to share what's it like working there since you're considering joining them or applying. Just be honest and show genuine curiosity. It's worth a shot. Then look for consistency. All right. You're, again, looking for patterns. You have patterns and so does the company. If the website says they value innovation, but everyone's job description sounds bureaucratic and rigid, are they really innovative? What have they built, right? Dig deeper and do some more in-depth research on the buzzwords that they put out. Use AI. ChatGPT and Perplexity are really great for doing research and helping to kind of uncover a company's reputation. So use those tools. You have them at your disposal. All right, you guys. So step 1 is identifying your core values. Step 2 is then starting to research companies to look for evidence for or against those values. Let's take a quick commercial break. We still have several more points to go through. We're going to talk about actual questions that you can ask in the interview to uncover these, and then how to make the final decision when you are in the interview phase. All right, so stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey everyone, it's Lorraine again. While the show takes a quick break, I want to tell you about some of the exciting changes that we've made at Career Uprising. We've unveiled some incredible new features for our clients. We have a new client library with extensive materials, including ebooks, worksheets, and videos to help you discover your value and land a new role faster than your competition. We also have an app. That's right, Career Uprising has an app for Apple and Android, allowing you to connect with me and get the help you need on the go. We've also expanded our curriculum and coaching techniques to make the program more effective than it's ever been. But these new features are just for clients. Let's take the next step together.
Head over to careeruprising.com today. You can learn more and book a call with me. That's careeruprising.com. You can also follow me on LinkedIn and subscribe to my free newsletter, Get Hired Over 40. I can't wait to connect with you. All right, let's get back to the show.
All right, so what questions can you ask in the interview to uncover company culture? Because remember, the interview is not just about them evaluating you. You are evaluating them. If you're going to give them a piece of your soul, you might as well do your due diligence and find out what you're getting into. All right, so here are some questions that reveal culture beneath the surface. If you want to find out about leadership and communication, you could ask, how would they describe the leadership style there? And can they give you an example? How does feedback typically happen here? Is it formal or informal? Will I get a performance review? What does that look like? Will I get feedback throughout the year? Ask all of these questions. If you want to know about growth and development, ask, what does career progression look like here? Can you give me an example of someone who started in a role and then advanced? How do they handle internal promotions or even professional development? Are they willing to give you a stipend and an allowance for your professional development and reimburse you for things like that? Why don't you can ask about that? Maybe you value work-life balance. So you could ask, how does the company typically support employees' well-being or mental health benefits, time off, scheduling accommodations, whatever it is? Some of these questions are going to be more appropriate at the later stage, maybe even once you've been given an offer. Some you could ask at the earlier stage. It just depends on what it is. When we're starting to get into benefits and things like that, I typically recommend waiting until the later stage for that. How about collaboration? You could ask, can you share an example of how teams work together across departments? And I would even maybe say, can you give me an example of time when there was miscommunication or dysfunction on the team? How was it handled? Watch how they respond. Can they answer the question easily? Do they have to pause and stutter? Does it sound like they are giving you canned talking points, or does it sound like they're authentic? You're going to have to really learn how to read a person with this. And here's another tip that I would recommend. You can ask about turnover on the team or within the company. You can. Don't shy away from that. Talk to me about company turnover. And, and if they are just immediately like, oh, it's very low, it's excellent. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but you can ask for examples or relative numbers. You want to know what you're getting into, and it's okay. All right. I hope those questions help you. But the bottom line here is, for you personally, think about what you want to know. What do you need to know in order to make sure that this is the right move? And then how can you frame a question around that? And again, use us as your coach, use AI if you need to, but develop a question that hits the nail on the head for uncovering that. If you want to make sure that this company is not too meeting heavy, ask them about that. Tell me about the staff meetings and the stand-ups. How often are they? How long do they typically go? If you want to know about discretion in your role, ask, how are decisions made in this role? What will I have discretion over? What do I not have discretion over? What kind of decisions can I make for the team? You decide what you want to know, and then be sure to ask targeted questions that get to the heart of that. Be very strategic. Don't just ask the standard, oh, is this a new position or a backfill? And, what are the key things you're looking for in this role? That's all fine, but that's not enough. Those are just the canned questions. I want you to customize questions that are aligned with your values. Okay, let's say you got to make a decision. You got offers, multiple offers, right? And you want to know if you're going to make the right decision. Check your values list again. Ask yourself, do I really see myself working here? Do I feel like this will be a supportive environment? Did I like the people that I talked to? What kind of vibe did I get from them? How did I like the interview process? Were they respectful of my schedule? Were they prompt? Or was it like pulling teeth to get answers from them? These are all the things that you want to be reading from them. You need to evaluate how they handled the interview process, how they treated you. Just go with your instinct. How do you feel? And do you see yourself working there? Or are you just kind of like, yeah, it's another job. Whatever your values are, this is the time to put them into action. You're not just changing jobs, you are changing ecosystems. All right. It's kind of like moving to another country and you don't like the culture there. That's kind of a problem, right? Because you're immersing yourself in it. So now is the time to allow your values to guide your decisions. So finding the right fit isn't just about luck or timing. It's about clarity and intention. When you know your values, you can walk into interviews with confidence and ask better questions. You'll stop just chasing jobs that look good and start pursuing ones that actually feel right. And that's where the long-term success really happens. So if this resonated with you and you want more guidance on how to find your next role with purpose, head over to careeruprising.com, check out our coaching programs, book a call. We are here to help you. We help you with leveraging the technology and the AI piece. I'm doing a lot of teaching with clients on that, and the human piece of the recruiter and the hiring manager. We're going to help you balance both. But until then, trust your gut, know your worth, and build your career on purpose. Have a beautiful day.
Hey, it's Lorraine, and I want to say thanks for listening. If you found value in today's show, I would be honored to have your review on Apple Podcasts. It's the single best way to help this show be found by other listeners, and you'll earn some good karma. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to connect with you next time on Career Uprising.